All right. Well, today's going to be a little less polished than usual. Well, I know some of you are thinking it can be actually less polished, less professional. Yes, it can be. Some of these shows though can be the best shows though. It really can be. And we're going to be talking about a very controversial thing, always controversial, which is women and aging, which has been talked about before and it's been talked about to death. People are very triggered by it, unfortunately. And but that I'm not breaking this down just to dunk on women and make older women feel bad and guys feel vilified somehow because we're slamming on women or whatever. That's not what this is about. Okay. But there is an extreme amount of delusion that is going on amongst women in the West, particularly, and with guys as well who simp for these women. And we're going to break that down because that is kind of the root as to why dating is terrible and dating in relationships suck for most people. So it's important that we understand this, break it down so that you can work your way around it. All right. Well, if you have any questions about anything, super chats are good, helps the algorithms. Go ahead and put those up there if you got them. We're just kind of winging it this episode. I don't have a ton of great notes, though I do have a bunch of pictures to share. All right. But this came about due really with Pearl over at Just Pearly Things, which I always have to put this caveat in here. I don't care if you like her or not. She is not the topic of the show. All right. That's not the point. Okay. But I have to always say that because then I get people in the chat and comment section feeling the need to tell me whether or not they like a particular person who might be controversial or not. It's not what this is about. But sometimes, what she likes to do is tweet and do shows on controversial things. It helps her engagement. She's very good at it in that regards. And it's interesting though to look at because some of these topics and things that people get upset about or people get triggered about will tell you a lot of information, right, about where people are in society today in general, where the social conditioning is, where female, general social conditioning kind of lies and stuff like that, and guys too as well, right? It's interesting to observe. And she had put a tweet out a while ago. It was something as simple as 35 or 25-year-old women are hotter than 35-year-old women. That was the tweet. Now, this should not have been a controversial statement. Like, you know what? 25-year-old guys are hotter and better looking than most 45-year-old guys. Okay. 35-year-old actually, because guys have a different scale for what makes them attractive. And it's a lot of times you have a higher percentage of 35-year-old guys that are actually better looking than the younger guys in their 20s. But if you get into like 45, like my age, 25-year-old guys better looking than 45-year-old guys. Now, is that true? I'm better looking than a lot of 25-year-old dudes, certainly. And I'm no supermodel. Like, I'm not about to sit here and justify my looks. All right. I have things that make me attractive, and it's not, showing up on a magazine promoting the latest Calvin Klein outfit or Estee Lauder cologne or something, right? Like, like that's not it. Okay. So anybody wants to slam on my looks, I don't really care. It's not what it's about. But I'm certainly more attractive, even just in the looks department, than a lot of 25-year-olds. But it's different for guys, number one. Okay, there's different standards here we're looking at, and masculinity is a standard that tends to get better with age, and that tends to make people a little bit more attractive. But it's just not that controversial, though, that if a 25-year-old is athletic and takes care of his body, and has a decent symmetrical face, or 30-year-old guy will say, I mean, 30 to 35 is about a peak for looks for guys. If he takes care of himself and all that, he's probably better looking than he's going to be when he's 45, 50. It just is. I was better looking 10 years ago in terms of overall, let's say, physical attractiveness, I think. Now my body's gotten, I think, a little bit better if you like, musculature and being jacked or whatever, having like, I'm more masculine. I got bigger, muscles, we'll say, right, from working out for 10 years. But so that can be better, right? But I mean, just in terms of youth, age, I mean, it just is what it is, right? We have age-related decline, and it's not a big deal to recognize that. I certainly have things about me now that are age-related things that I didn't have 10 years ago. And it's not a big deal. You just work through your other characteristics, and you're making yourself better as a person overall, and as an attractive person in the sexual marketplace. You're getting better overall, and you have a lot of options. You have good options, right? That's the idea. So this video here and this talk is not to like doom 45-year-old women and say they're ugly and they'll never find a man or any of that kind of stuff. Like, that's all, that stuff is bullshit. Okay. But it is to have a objective, higher level discussion. Remember, this is Apex Underground pod class, and the algorithms don't like us because it talk about things that sometimes women don't like, or whatever wokies don't like. But we do have them. These are going to have these conversations in an elevated way. We're not going to sit here and just, slam on people and have binary thinking and stuff. So I'm not sitting here, claiming that older women can't find a man and they're never going to be whatever. Okay. But there is a heavier, the fact of the matter is, there's a heavier, we'll say, weight. How do we say it? A heavier amount of influence that a woman's looks has on her overall attractiveness. All right. To potential suitors, potential mates. All right. Who could deny that? That is like, that's not only is it scientifically proven, you don't even need to scientifically prove that. A woman's looks has a greater weight on her overall attractiveness than any other feature that she has going for her when it comes to dating, mating, and relationships, and getting into one, especially. All right. Does that mean that's the only thing that matters and all this? No, but it is the highest amount of weight for what she has. When a guy is talking to a new girl and he's single and she's single and he's thinking about it, he's looking at her attractiveness, which is based in her appearance first and foremost, right? And his attractiveness and appearance matters, but not as much, right? Not as much, because women select men and find men attractive for other traits other than their appearance. This is just a fact. Like, why people in places like Twitter, and we're talking like famous people, even like people who have a voice that other people listen to, right? Why they would deny that simple truth is crazy, right? It's just crazy to deny the fact that women and their attractive, a woman's looks is what makes her attractive, generally speaking. Not her college degree, not her, level of responsibility, or, is she got good values? Like, those are all cool things to have and things that would make her a good relationship partner, right? Her education is good for an accomplishment. That's great. But no guy wants to bang her PhD or her master's degree, right? They want to bang her fat ass, like, I mean, if she has one, right? I mean, that's what they want. They want to bang her body, right? They want her attractive body. Okay. And we see this all the time. I mean, guys who are high value guys with money and careers and accomplishments, they hook up with the waitress. Nothing wrong with waitresses, but I'm just saying, they hook up with some girl in her 20s, or 30s who's just hot. That's what they do. That's what guys do. Okay, so we have to recognize that's a reality. If we don't recognize that that's a reality, you can't do well in the dating marketplace. You can't do well in your relationships if you're unwilling to look at reality, and that's men and that's women. But for some reason, women are being conditioned to think reality doesn't exist anymore. Like reality is what we can make it for ourselves. We can socially condition somehow the world and men to accept and believe and all the stuff that isn't true. We all know it's true. Not, we all know what's true and what isn't when it comes to a lot of stuff, just inherently, right? And yet so many guys just nod their heads and go, yeah, that's right. Yeah, my wife is beautiful at 50. Hey, man, I'm sure your wife is beautiful at 50. But is she competing with 25-year-olds right now in a beauty contest? She would lose probably. You know what I mean? If they were all at a certain level of fitness, right? And all taking care of themselves, she's going to lose that battle, and that's okay. That's okay. That's the other part. Age is fine. Like it's okay for a woman to get older. It's okay for her to have age-related decline stuff happening. That doesn't make her less of a person, right? But when we sit here and pretend that that doesn't exist, we're essentially disrespecting older women who are getting older, and disrespecting also and not recognizing the things that would make an older woman attractive by trying to pretend that age-related decline doesn't exist. You know what I mean? It's like we're not respecting and understanding that there are things that make a woman attractive at 40, at 50, when we're not recognizing that one of those things is not going to be her youthfulness like it would have been when she was 23. Okay? And it's fine. It's not, nobody should be slamming women on the fact that they're 45 or they're 50 and they're a little older. They have a wrinkle here or two. Their youthfulness and stuff isn't quite the same as it was when they were 25. I'm not shaming anybody for this, and you shouldn't either. All right. I don't think anybody should. That's not the point. But the point is the craziness of denying that this exists. That's the point. It's the delusion. And it's so bad that like women are going into this like crisis. They're getting way too much plastic surgery and then looking like freak shows, when if they just aged gracefully, they would probably have looked better. And I'm not even against some plastic surgery or doing things to keep your appearance up. I think it's great. I think if a woman does things to keep up her appearance, both, and she's doing it in a healthy way, I think it's great. But like to overdo it because you're in a mental crisis, because you think you have to compete with a 23-year-old, that's crazy. And you know who's doing that? Women are doing that to each other. Men aren't doing that. Women want to blame men like, well, men, they're always looking at the younger women and then it's their fault that we have to overdo it in plastic surgery and look like freak shows. No, because dudes just want your vagina and like they'll simp and want to get with you. And if you're decent looking enough at 45, we saw that in those comment sections too over at Pearl's Twitter, right? So like, no, like guys aren't doing this. If a guy gets with you when you're in your early 20s, late 20, whatever, in your 20s, and you're super attractive then, and then you guys get married and you guys have a couple kids. Well, kids or no kids, doesn't matter. But marriage, no matter, doesn't matter. But you're together and you're both still together and you're in your 40s and you have a good relationship. That dude's going to think that you're gorgeous. Your age-related decline will not affect his boner. All right. For that woman who's 45 years old, when he met her when she was in her 20s, parts of his brain is going to respond, even though he knows that there's this age that she's aged a bit. He knows it, but the parts of his brain that respond sexually with attraction due to neurochemicals and stuff in the attachment he has, right? he's still going to have that sexual response to her. He's still going to be sexually triggered by her, and in a positive way. That doesn't mean he's not going to have an instinct to want to, hook up with other women. Like, that's guys. That's a guy's instinct. And we're not going to shame dudes for their instincts either. All right. But that doesn't mean he has to execute that. Let's say he's a Christian guy and he wants to maintain monogamy. That's his way. That's her way. There's nothing saying he has to go ahead and jump into bed with 23-year-old in order to be happy because his wife's now 45. That's not how it would go. If she's giving him, a lot of sexual interest and attention, and she takes care of herself as much as she can. She does have to take care of her appearance, but she does in a healthy way. She does as much as she can. And she brings other good qualities to the table, and they've built a relationship. He's not like dumping her. You know what I mean? Unless that doesn't happen, right? That's not a thing. Women are pressuring each other and pressuring themselves, okay, to meet a standard that's a 22, 23-year-old beauty standard. And then in terms of youthfulness, and you can see it because they're like a 40-year-old woman, a lot of them, they're not dressing elegantly like an attractive 40-year-old woman. A lot of these women will get weird hair dye and try to dress like, a teenager or whatever, like a cutesy something that a 22-year-old, 25-year-old even, depending on her look, could get away with. It's like they're not growing the fuck up. You know what I mean? And it's not cute. It's not cute. It's sad. It really is. And why am I saying this? It sounds like I'm just slamming on women. First of all, not all women do this, thank God. Second of all, but it is such a large percentage, though, that is affected by this in some way. I mention this, though, because it creates these massive delusions. They have massive delusions about themselves. And when then those delusions are not met by the objective world, then it puts them in a mental and emotional crisis. And it affects the way that they handle their husbands, how they handle their boyfriends. And if they're, God forbid, if they are single in their 40s or 50s, how they handle that. It affects them there. And understand, I've met women in their 40s, women in their 50s who are balanced mentally, who have become single for whatever reason, and they're doing just fine. They're beautiful, right? Like, they're really attractive, and not just attractive by like somebody else's standards. Like, they're good looking women and they bring a lot to the table, even in a short-term dating situation. So there are those women out there for sure. It's just not the majority. Girls like that, you're all the exception, right? And so any women coming on here, any guys, all you dudes, most of you guys are dudes listening to me, right? You're going to get on the dating market. A lot of you guys are in your 40s or 50s. You're looking for that chick that's a little bit of an anomaly, not what the status quo is, because the status quo right now, at least in the West, is delusional. And all of those delusions are going to affect the way that you two interact with each other. And it's going to prevent her from having healthy, happy relationships, because her self-esteem is going to be damaged and she's going to be ego protecting and trying to cover it because of these ridiculous standards that women are putting on each other and themselves and then blaming men for it. So men become the scapegoat. Women are angry at men for having instincts and drives and preferences, and then they're feeling insecure, blaming that on men, when really it's other women that are delusional. And that delusion is supporting an idea like a 45-year-old woman who looks in the mirror and knows objectively, I don't look like I did when I was 22. And then she looks on social media or talks to her friends, and they're all caking on makeup, getting plastic surgery, trying to dress like teenagers and go and acting like it too, drinking too much, throwing a few prescription drugs on top of it. And Becky with the Xanax and a box of wine is sitting here telling her that she is attractive at any age. She's beautiful at any age. And she'll, these young girls aren't, I'm just as attractive as I was when I was younger when these things come up, and she's acting it and she's saying it like a woman who's, let's say, 45 is looking in the mirror going, "Oh, I don't look like I did when I was 22." And I know that. And I'm supposed to, though, because all my friends are saying that they do. And everybody around me says, no, 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 we all do, right? It doesn't put somebody in a position of having a good sense of self and objectively understanding, okay, I got a shortcoming here or there. I got a few more wrinkles. I'm gonna look a little different, but you know what? That's okay because I bring all these other qualities to the table, and I'm a better relationship partner definitely than some party girl in her 20s. And I still look pretty damn good. I go to the gym 3 days a week, take care of myself, all that, right? That would be a healthy way to look at it, but they're having a hard time. People have a hard time having this healthy way of looking at things because of the social conditioning. It's harmful to women and it's harmful to dudes who are trying to date them. There's a reason the store is called Forever 21. Indeed, indeed. And so we'll kind of go through. So, you know, now I'm going to talk about celebrity here. Jessica Alba. I have a lot of positive things to say about her, actually. So this is not a slam on Jessica Alba situation, okay? But I mean, if saying she's 42, and at 42, she's not as hot as a lot of 20, 2, 23, 24, 25, 26 year olds, 27-year olds. If saying that is slamming on her, if that's an attack, well, then I guess I'm guilty, all right? But it's not an attack. That's just a fact. She's still a beautiful woman, and there's a lot of great qualities and characteristics she has, and I'll cover that too as this because I am spotlighting her. Unfortunately, I hate doing that, but at the same time, she's a celebrity. She puts herself out there, and that's the part of what she does. So having discussions about her is not outside of the wheelhouse of what should be going on. All right. So, but that Pearl made a point on her Twitter. A lot of people didn't like it. And he said, okay, women don't like to admit the truth that Jessica Alba is no longer sexually attractive as the average 26-year-old because it would beg the question. If Jessica Alba cannot sexually compete, one of the most beautiful women ever, what does that say about, my notes cut off here, about the rest of, about everybody else, right? It's a damn good point. Right? And that's the essence of why this is such a controversial topic. Okay. And so I want to look at some different things here. I'm going to share my screen. Sharing the screen. Okay. All right. So I got we'll slideshow it. You guys can see me here in the slideshow. Okay. So here's Jessica Alba, 2023, recent photo. Cool. Right. And that's, let me get into. So here's the thing about this one, right? This is Jessica Alba with makeup people, with a very nice dress here and a nice look. She looks very beautiful. She's 42 years old, okay? She's a beautiful woman at 42. I mean, would not tell somebody that they should hook up with a 22-year-old, instead of Jessica Alba or whatever. Like, that'd be stupid, right? I mean, she's an attractive woman. But the point was, if we're talking like, is she as hot or as attractive as a large amount of women who are in their early 20s, who are never models and who are not considered one of the most beautiful women in the world? And that's the question. We got to keep in mind too, when we look at this, and same with Instagram girls and same with all this stuff, you're looking at a pile of makeup, right? Not that she has it very elegantly done. Obviously we see, a lot worse than that, but she has, I'll just stop sharing for a second. She has a pile of things going on here to include the dress being form-fitting in a certain way. I mean, there's a lot of advantages that celebrities get. And there's a lot of women who know how to learn what celebrities do, and they take those advantages in order to look like much, much prettier than they would be walking around naked or walking around in a bikini or walking around without makeup. And that is an important distinction here because, you know, doing a bunch of things to appear a certain way doesn't get down to somebody's raw level of attractiveness. I made this point before when we look at like shows like, Fresh and Fit or whatever podcasts, and you get these girls that come on that are OnlyFans girls or whatever. And guys will sort of think that women are like these girls and that these girls are somehow like the pinnacle of attractiveness. And you guys who watch me know better than that, right? And I've made this point a million times. There's some girl out in Michigan, Ohio, Utah, wherever, Texas. Don't be mad if I didn't represent your state. Who's wearing sweatpants and, a little tank top and going to the gym right now, or she's wearing Carhartts and doing something outside, or she's wearing, whatever, she's maybe having a frumpy day right now with no makeup on, looks better than those OnlyFans girls who are presenting to the world, you see, that who are making themselves up and doing themselves up to present something. And so many of you dudes fall for that shit. You think these girls are like super, this girl's beautiful, this and that. She's so hot. This Instagram girl with her face filters, her butt apps to make her ass and waist look bigger, ass look bigger, waist look smaller, boobs look bigger. You see these people in person and you're like, dude, they're not that much different than other chicks who are not obese and who are relatively attractive. There's no gold standard there. Okay. So you got to keep in mind that we can't, like, when comparing or looking at beauty like this, you can't look at, okay, all of the stuff somebody has to do to take a photo and then edit the photo in order to look beautiful, right? What's she going to look like when she wakes up next to you after a rough night? What's she going to look like at the beach after, doing some swimming or kayaking or something, right? Or 2 or 3 days of maybe doing a little camping or whatever, where you're not putting on makeup, there's no shower available. What's she looking like then? That's what she looks like. You start comparing the Jessica Albas of the world to a girl who's just not obese, 23, 24, 25, 26 years old, you're going to find that, these other girls who are average are beating her out in a lot of cases. All right. That point is important because age-related decline is real. And we need to recognize that it's real, because by not doing that, we're putting unfair expectations on women, unfair expectations on the men who date them, and creating this weird crisis. And it makes people show up in the dating market and in the relationship market, not appreciate what they have, not appreciate what's in front of them because they're not seeing reality. And they have unsatisfied, terrible relationships. This is really the consequence, And so yeah, that's her done up. Looks great. Now, this is her in her prime when she was in her like early 20s doing shoots for like FHM, stuff like that, right? As we can see now, at that time, she was rated one of the most beautiful women in the world by a few different people. All right. A few different sources. I don't know how they figured that out, but she was like back in the day. And now we're talking 20 years ago, 18 years ago, whatever, ballpark. She was the gold standard of beauty at that time. A lot of people consider her that. Okay. And obviously very, very attractive. Now, these are, of course, professional photos, but if we dug out photos of her when she was 21, 22, just casually being on the beach, she wasn't, she was looking above and beyond everybody else at that time, right? She would be somebody that you would see at a beach, or you'd see, even at a coffee place, just wearing regular clothes out in, let's say, Washington State somewhere, right? Wherever, right? We'll get our Canadian people, Calgary or something, right? You'd see her buying a coffee and you'd be like, damn, that girl is like a 10. Okay. And she'd just be wearing whatever and have no makeup on. That's where she was at. All right. Now, fast forward. This is her. And I got like other photos of her too. This is her just in a bikini now. A little blurry because it was a candid photo. There's no makeup. This is a very average girl here. Okay, at this point. Now, when I say average, here's what I did when I looked at that. I had to take out obesity. All right. And a lot of people didn't understand why I took out obesity when I analyzed this. The reason why is because obesity and destroying your body through obesity, okay, is a controllable factor that is destroying our perceptions of what we find attractive. People don't have to be obese. That's a choice based on behaviors people are doing. I know there's a ton of conditioning as well as stuff out there that makes it harder today to be leaner than to not be obese. Like, it's harder today to not be obese than it was 50 years ago. I realize that. I realize food companies market to you to make you addicted to food. I understand that whole argument, right? But that doesn't matter. It's still a choice. Maybe a more difficult choice today than it was 50 years ago, but it's still a choice if you're not in good shape, or even in just, healthy body weight. We're not even talking, physical fitness, athletic, whatever. Okay. So when we look at obesity, we look at, I think it's like half of men are obese too, right? But like for women, it's like women according to the CDC, it was women between age like 20 to like 39, I think it was 39% of women were obese, at that were considered obese according to the CDC. So 39, close to 40% of women in their 20s, right, are over fat, we could say, based on those numbers. Age 40 to 60, it was like 34%. So, or not 34%, sorry, 44% rather. So it was 5 percentage points higher if you were, on average, that women were fatter as older. So interestingly enough, that was interesting to look up, because we have this stereotype about fat older women, but the reality is there are fat younger women too. And in fact, the statistics show it's not that much different, at least not statistically. Women who are younger are just as fat almost as women who are older. That's a new thing now. That wasn't always like that. Probably 20 years ago, I'd say that was different. I didn't look at the numbers, but I'm going to guess it was, right? Obesity is up in all categories, okay? And if you're a guy who takes care of himself and is out in the dating market, you don't have to pick up somebody who's obese unless you want to, but you don't have to do that. You have choices and you can choose not obese, okay, regardless of age. And that number's not that much different. I thought I would have to control differently, because I thought it would be maybe less, maybe less than 30%. Maybe it was 25%. Like, if I would have guessed before looking, I would have said, well, maybe it's 25% that are obese. And it seems like it's about half, but maybe that's just my perception. Maybe statistically, if we look all over the United States, maybe it's about 25% of women in their 20s are obese. Nope, it's not. It's 39%. And so it's almost as much as women who are past the wall, past 35 years old, past 40. It's almost as much. So first things first, by not being fat, we'll say over fat, because you can have some, right? You can be thicker, but like by not being in an obese category, right? As a woman, as a man, but especially as a woman, even more so as a woman, that you've already beat out half of your competition or close to half. If you're just not fat as a woman, you're already better. A woman who's 45 years old and not fat beats out probably her obese, younger competition. Okay, so there is that. That skews the statistic a little bit. But not really, because if we're comparing obese and obese, again, we have close to the same amount of obese people that are above 40, 40 years old than below. So assuming, let's take that out of the picture, I'm not going to compare Jessica Alba, who's in great shape at 42, to an obese 22-year-old, complete wreck of a person. That's not a fair comparison. You know what I mean? So if we take out obesity, let's just look at average girls who are in their 20s, let's say doing spring break or whatever, compared to the hottest woman in the world 20 years ago. Right? Let's compare those things and let's see what we get. And it's just to make a point. It's a point that's uncomfortable for a lot of women, but it shouldn't be. It should not be uncomfortable. It's called age-related decline. It's not a big deal. All right. I don't know if I want to show the clip, but oh no, I do want to show the clip. Let me see here. I gotta go. I never know how to work this. Holy shit. I'm all over the place now. All right. So, you know what? I will show the clip, actually. Yeah, we're queuing this up here. Okay. So, throw a pause on that. Okay. Little admin administrative break. Okay, so now we're going to share. Just show you a real clip real quick. Okay. Sharing the screen here. This is just off of Pearl's Twitter, whatever. She, and so now we're sharing this. It doesn't matter really what they're talking about.
If I showed you pictures of me when I'm saying awkward, you would be like, you would look at me differently.
No, it's weird that I started using a curling iron and Aquanet hairspray at age like 5. And no wonder I had so much asthma.
All right.
But
That makes sense.
I had all these wild.
Just mute them because it's not actually important what they're saying. But the thing of the matter is, all right, so this girl interviewing her is like 26 years old. And she has a youthful, like leaner look to her. Now, some might say because of Jessica's like lips being fuller and some different traits that Jessica has that, oh, she's more attractive, and I could appreciate that. But really, when you look at these things, it's like, by and large, if you're looking at, a 26-year-old girl, okay, with more youthful characteristics, in comparison to Jessica Alba, who is a very beautiful woman, but she's 42. Jessica Alba looks like somebody's mom. Okay. Hey, maybe somebody's mom you want to go bang. All right. I think she is a mother, in fact, but still, it's a 42-year-old woman. You know what I mean? 42-year-old woman used to be one of the most beautiful, like whatever celebrity models in the world, but now she's 42. Right. And that's the point there. Okay. And so, it's not to disparage her. And in fact, I do want to, state here, she did it right, because here's some points here. Okay. What's the point for women? And why is this, such a topic? Well, let's look at Jessica Alba's track record too. All right. So I don't know all the details of her personal life. Okay. But when you look at it, all right, she had, not that I'm really stalking that hard, but it was an interview or something I think I caught when I was doing my research here. I think she like lost her virginity at 20, okay, with her first boyfriend or that she had at that time, not her first boyfriend ever, but her first boyfriend at that time. And it was like when she was 20 years old, at one of her peak height and attractiveness, and she grew up Catholic, She's not a big Catholic or anything like that, but she had two parents with family values, and she grew up with a good set of values and a good sort of what it seemed like a good understanding or a good set of values around sex and around sexual behavior. And she had struggles too, though, because, you know, she's hot. So as a lot of hot girls, every hot girl has to deal with is any girl who's even remotely pretty deals with being objectified by dudes. And I don't mean to say that in like a woke ass way, but really just being, you know, dudes trying to bang her, right? So they're going to treat her differently, try different tactics and different things to make that happen. And some of those are not going to be really good. You know what I mean? Some of those are going to be normal and fine. And some of those are going to be, you know, not the best. And so, you know, yeah, she talked about, I think in an interview going through some of that and some of the issues she had with her religious upbringing because of how dudes were trying to treat her, you know, basically because she was hot. That being said, though, you know, those are normal girl struggles, okay, normal struggles a girl goes through when she's attractive. And she had seemed to have had a good sense of values around sex. How many girls are waiting to have sex till 20 nowadays? How many girls are waiting until then? How many girls are getting banged out at 14, 15 now, right? There were lots back then because she's close to my age. So there were lots back when I was that age, right? And there's how many more now? Tons, right? And it's so much more that they don't even want to look at it statistically. They don't even want to look at it. They don't want to study it because God forbid we make female promiscuity look like a bad thing, even though it tends to be a bad thing and leads to worse outcomes for women, particularly young girls. When a young girl starts becoming sexually active with multiple partners at like 15, like when they're younger, their outcomes are much, much worse than if she simply waited. Taking notches out of the picture, if she waited till she was 20 versus being 15, her brain is more emotionally mature and she can handle what sex does to the brain neurochemically and the attachments and the things that happen. And she's less damaged and less affected in a negative way for her relationships in the future if she waits. I mean, that's a big thing. Guys raising daughters, if you can make the goal for her to at least wait till she's in a committed relationship and when she's 21 years old, if you could do that, you're going to like keep her off the pole, right? You're going to save yourself a lot of problems. And then that girl who waited till she was 20, 21 and waited till she was did it in the context of a stable relationship, that girl is going to have much, much, much better outcomes. Okay. Way better outcomes than girls who are being sexualized younger. Okay. So that's a fact. And so we look at her life. One of the most beautiful women out there became sexually active at 20 for the first time in the context of a relationship. Now, unless she's lying for the media, because I don't know, and we don't know that stuff. They all have publicists, but that was the story. And then she got married. She probably had a couple other boyfriends, but she was with that first guy for like 3 or 4 years. So she was not just railing through dudes from what I know and for what we know. I mean, who knows? I'm sure there was the one-off thing here or there. But at that point, she was such a high-level celebrity that those situations would get publicized highly, right? So that probably kept her a lot more discreet and a lot more in check in terms of her behavior. But she grew up with a set of values, okay, surrounding this. Ended up getting married at 30. She's now 30, I think. No, it was 15 years ago. So no, she was younger than 30. In fact, she may not have had another boyfriend. She may have went right from that boyfriend to her marital partner because it was like right around when I'm trying to remember from what I read now. It was right around when Fantastic Four was happening. And anyways, the guy she married was 15 years ago when they married. And then they met like 4 years before that. So shoot, that she probably went, I'm just doing the math now in my head. She probably went from first guy she ever had sex with into a marriage, well, into a relationship rather, with who would end up being her marital partner. And guess what? She's a celebrity. And we know celebrities have train wrecks of lives and relationships. This woman is in a 15-year marriage. and I'm pretty sure she's a mother and she's a wife, and you know, she still works in Hollywood, of course. But I mean, she's not like stacked busy with work because she's being a mom and she's being a wife. So she actually represents what to do correctly. I have a lot of high esteem if we're looking at the way that people, you know, should run their lives, I guess. Not that it's my job to tell people how to run their lives, but you get what I mean. If we're looking at a formula for success, she followed it. Low notches, stable boyfriends, relationships, a good upbringing helped with that, a good set of kind of values around that sort of thing. Married a dude, right? She married the guy. She dated him for like, or she was in a relationship or dating, whatever you want to call it, for 4 years, because she met him 4 years before they got married. And then they've been married for 15 years. So she's been in the relationship for 19, almost going on 20 years. All right. So now understand, like, anyone see the interview where she says she's a man? I don't care. Like, she's still affected by the social conditioning and the bullshit of Hollywood, right? And who knows what's going on upstairs with some of these things. There's a lot of pressure from these goofballs to say and do different things. Oh, I'm a masculine, strong woman. Would definitely be one of those things. You know what I mean? I think she used some things saying, well, I use this air of masculinity to try to keep guys in check. I get what she means by that, to be honest. I'm not sitting here. I mean, who gives a shit, right? Like, who cares? All right. It's not the fucking point. All right. You're missing the fucking point. All right. So we're going to look at behaviors now, what people say, to include, you know, other stupid things they might say. But I kind of understand what she meant, probably, because guys are so, you know, horny and kind of after her for her looks. Because, I mean, imagine her being around. Dude, no, everyone's just after her for her looks. And she probably, you know, she probably handled herself with more of a, you know, masculine framework to make the simps and the goofy, you know, weak ass men that she's around to, you know, to really control that environment so she wouldn't get Me Too'd and all these other things. That was like what is real reference to, I believe. But at any rate, so yeah. And the other photos, I don't know, but you can just look them up. But it's like, it's, you know, going back to it, right? She's this is her as someone's wife in a stable relationship, 19 years. Great, right? That's great. Like, good. Like, she's a good example. Okay. She did it right. Why is this important to recognize? Okay. It's important to recognize because guys get what we call marriage goggles. Now, what is marriage goggles? That was a married red pill Reddit thing. But it was a trend that dudes noticed where their girl that they were with for a while, especially if they were in a long marriage, you know, or a long relationship, like they still saw that girl as the hot version of themselves. They still of themselves. They still saw that girl that they've been married to, who's maybe now 35, 40, as the same hot girl they met 10 years or more ago. They still had the attractiveness to her. And they would say, like, well, I know she's, you know, past the wall, and I know she's not, you know, like, you know, I know you guys, you know, you'd hear like you guys might not think she's the hottest girl in the world, but to me, she's just beautiful. You know, to me, she's the hottest, right? It's they would see their wives, see their partners as being the hottest thing ever, you know, just like they did in the prime of them dating, just like he saw her when he first was started dating her, seeing her, and having sex with her. You know, a guy will tend to see a woman as, and he'll know logically, okay, she's gained like 20 pounds, you know, but I mean, she took care of herself. She gained 20 pounds though. She's got some wrinkles a little bit here or there, but like, he feels that draw, that attraction, that desire for her, you know, as if she's like the hottest girl that he's ever hooked up with, you know, if he's in love with her. And that's what we call marriage goggles. And it's a real thing. Thank you. I'm trying not to be negative about this and make the point, because there's no negativity doesn't help. Just dunking on people, whatever, that doesn't help. And these dudes, these dudes who do that shit, they don't do well with women, and certainly not long term. They might be able to like convince some girl to touch her pee-pee while she's, drunk after, at 1:30 in the morning after the bar, but like, they're not doing well. Okay. You have to have a good outlook. You have to have a mindset towards success. And that means seeing the good in women and in men, and the ability to do that, even if those women that are capable of that are going to be in smaller numbers. You have to have a mindset towards that, or you're just not going to do well. But I appreciate that. Thank you. So would, yeah, right? Like Jessica Alba is beautiful. She's beautiful. This is not a slam on Jessica Alba message at all. Like, in fact, I'm saying she is great. Like, look at her as an example, not some of these other crazies that are out there. I don't know what she said. I don't pay attention to her. I'm not simping for this girl. I don't know what weird shit she's said or done. She probably has quirks. People aren't perfect. Okay. I don't know. All right. But I have no idea what she would like. Maybe she's a huge a-hole in person. I don't know. Never met the woman. Right. But I'm just saying, as far as attract of how people go to have relationship success and happiness, not to say a woman who's 38 and single couldn't manage to have happiness, but that's not the ideal situation to be in, right? The ideal situation to be in for a woman is to find a guy while they're as attractive as they've ever been, which is going to be in their 20s. The limit would be early 30s. Find a guy when she's still extremely hot, right? As hot as she's going to be for her whole life before age-related decline sets in. Get that guy, get that relationship. Guy's in love with her, and then he sees her as that top tier woman, as they age. Now, there's been a saying called knocking the marriage goggles off. I've heard that saying, and I love the analogy of marriage goggles, but I understand marriage goggles does not sound scientific, but it is scientific, because there's a neurochemical reaction that a man has when he's attracted to a woman, and that causes him to have a strong positive bias towards his woman. That is what the science shows. So the science does demonstrate something behind this. Even if he's like objectively, okay, here's a 22-year-old in a bikini, and here's your wife in a bikini who's 42, who's hotter. He's going to say, like, he's going to have to give caveats. And a lot of guys might be like, well, he's just simping, or he's trying to keep himself out of the trouble. He doesn't want to piss his wife off, all this stuff. Not necessarily, if he's being objective, you may look at that and go, listen, like, I understand she's not going to beat this other girl in a modeling contest, but I would pick my wife, though. I mean, to me, she's the most attractive, even though, yeah, okay, she's pretty hot too. I get it. Like, maybe, if I wouldn't get in trouble, sure, absolutely I would. But my wife is attractive to me. I wouldn't trade her, especially, 1 or 2 nights with her, for my wife. A guy's in a good relationship, in love with his wife. That's what he's gonna, say, and he's gonna mean it, because guys do have relationship equity in a way that's not how women have it. All right. So like, and guys have attractiveness triggers that are, attraction triggers that are different than women as well. So like, he's going to see his wife now, as long as she didn't slap the marriage goggles off. How does a woman slap the marriage goggles off? She gets obese. Going back to that again. Look, if a girl was hot when he met her, in a decent shape, and then she blows up, and I'm not talking gaining a little bit here or some pregnancy weight, or you know what, I just got lazy over the holidays and I'm like 15 pounds more than I should be. I'm going to go now, hit the spin classes and whatever, get back down to my normal weight. That's not what I'm talking about. There's leeway here. But when a girl gets 50 pounds overweight or more, right? When a girl gets considerably overweight and looks considerably different, when a woman stops taking care of her appearance, and just turns into an aged bucket of crap because she doesn't take care of her skin. She doesn't take care of her health. She doesn't eat right. And she doesn't take care of her hair, you know, like, and add in alcohol or drugs, right? Alcohol or drugs, whether recreational or some of the prescriptions that she shouldn't be taking and looking for other solutions, right? Psychiatric meds that will age a person, ruin their sex drive. Girl does that, right? He's not, it's like he can't have that positive bias anymore. Jessica Alba looks great. She doesn't look like she did 20 years ago, but she still looks great. There's no way her husband's going, oh, my wife's ugly. Get out of here. Like, no way, right? No way. If he did, he's just a dick, right? If that's the case. He sees her as just as beautiful, and that's totally fine. But if Jessica Alba gained 75 pounds, you know what I mean? And had massive things go wrong with her appearance, that would be an issue. That guy's marriage goggles would be off of his face. Right. And he would no longer see her like that. And he probably would not be able to get that back either. Once those goggles get knocked off, especially and shattered, there's no putting them back. And so the worst thing a woman can do in a marriage or in a relationship is knock those goggles off her man by being drastically negligent with her appearance and her behavior and with the things that make her valuable. That's another thing, sex. There's another way. A woman stops banging the guy that she's with, and especially if her appearance changes as well. Like, he loses that sexual connection. He's losing that regular, and what I say sexual connection, what does that mean? Not just a place to dump his nut, okay? But like there's a neurochemical bonding thing that happens when you have sex with somebody, and you're not doing that, you know, on a regular basis. If she's not doing that with her husband or her boyfriend on a regular basis, right? What happens? He loses the marriage goggles, fall, and eventually end up coming off of his head, hitting the ground, shattering, and he no longer sees her as a hot girl he used to bang all the time. All right. And that can take some time for that to happen if she's still looks good in her appearance. But if she's changed a bunch in her appearance, especially with age, no way. He does not have that same reaction to her, you know? Being treated like and devalued, being nagged all the time, just not like she changing her appearance, like you see these women who get in their, like they get masculine. They start dressing in weird, gross polyester pants and cutting their hair short. And, you know, they're all about the kids and blah, and they're bitchy and they're always bitching at their husband. That woman slapped those fucking goggles off that guy. You know, if he could and felt like he could, he would love to cheat with a 20-something-year-old just to fucking feel a little better about himself, right? And so these are the things that women do because they don't appreciate or understand that there is an age-related decline and that they're not going to be as attractive, and therefore it is their responsibility to be more attractive for the guy that they're with. And they do that not just by maintaining appearance, but by doing the things that made the guy want to be in a relationship with her in the first place. In fact, not just doing those things, but being better even than those things. A woman in a good relationship should be getting better over time with her relationship skills or relationship partner, not getting worse and more entitled. But that's not what you see, right? And this is why these women are utter failures after they hit the wall. They don't do well because they show up like shit, or they show up trying to act like 20-something-year-olds, getting wasted on the weekends and being an old kind of chubby, right, party girl who's a little bit bitchy and bossy too on top of it. You know, not a good look. Not a good look. And attractive dudes with something to offer. They got their shit together. They put it down in the bedroom, right? They take care of business. The type of dude these chicks want to be with. Not taking in some fucking 38-year-old who, you know, is drunk half the time, bitchy the other half the time, right? Like that's not even what, and she doesn't, Anne doesn't look like she's 22. Like, fuck that. A guy would put up with party girl behavior from a 22-year-old, 23-year-old for a while, at least for a little bit, just to have some fun and, you know, bang a hot girl. Does he want to put up with that shit with a 42-year-old? No. No. Okay. Do you have tips for couples to help constructively keep each other? Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Jake. To help constructively keep each other looking good and putting effort into themselves. Well, yeah. I mean, this is some tips. It depends on what you mean by tips, because what you want to do, you want to pick somebody who understands what their value is in a relationship to a guy. And as a guy, you want to understand what she values in you as a partner, not what she says she values, but what she really values and what she demonstrates with her behaviors, you know? And so it's got this one, blowjobs. Let's keep it real. Right. But that's not an untrue statement to keep it real. I mean, being sexually excited for your partner and having a lot of sex, frequent sex, like for a girl, she needs to maintain sexual frequency. She needs to have sex and she needs to be trying to have sex with her dude, like whether it's blowjobs or something else, every single day. And he should be doing the same with her, roughly. I mean, maybe at least a few times a week, whatever. But he should be getting he should be getting enough frequency where he doesn't feel like he needs to go jerk off or whatever. You know what I mean? She shouldn't be leaving his guy sexually frustrated or not sexually happy. And that it doesn't matter if she's in the mood or not. And that's the other thing. Because women are receptive when it comes to sex. And so once sex is initiated, she still ends up having a good time. It's kind of like, well, I wasn't in the mood for pizza today, but pizza's still pretty good, right? Just have it because and she needs to want to have sex with her partner and have desire to have sex with her partner because it makes her feel good to do it. And you want to pick somebody like that who has that mindset and has maximum desire for you, right? As a dude. So she shows up that way. So maintaining the sexual attraction and desire by actually having sex, right? And then doing the things outside, like you want to pick somebody who would go to the gym and take care of themselves and who's interested in their appearance, not somebody who's like only interested in their appearance during the dating phase because they want, you know, to get a guy interested and get a guy to go for him. And then they just sort of bag all that shit. You know, you want a girl who understands that her value to you. And if she doesn't understand this, then she's willing to explore what is it that makes you happy about me, you know? And that's a good tip. If we're talking tips, ask the question, what is it that makes you happy with me? Because, you know, a guy will tell a girl pretty straight up if he's not being a simp, right? If he's being on his own mental point of origin and being honest, not lying to try to make her impressed or happy and not letting her bully you, right? And I say bully because a lot of guys are literally pussies and they let their women bully them by, oh, she might remove the sex or be in a bad mood or treat me like she's like shit tonight and I want to have a good night, so I better say the right thing. If a guy's being honest, you know, he's going to tell her what makes him happy. And it's things like, you know, doing things to complement his life, being feminine, being a good host, you know, being kind and to others and feminine and welcoming and warm, you know, being a warm person to come home to, for example. That's hard for a woman to hear when she's grown up learning that being a strong, independent woman, which means bitchy, ungrateful, and giving to-do lists and asserting yourself with men because men are terrible. Women who act like that don't bring value to the table in a relationship. And when a guy says that, I don't value that. In fact, those things are not, those are not only not valuable to me, but those are, repulsive to me. Those make me not want to be around a girl when she acts like that. What do women resort to a lot of times? They resort to shaming the guy. Well, you're just a misogynist, or you're a piece of crap, and that's why you don't respect my opinion. Oh, I'm too strong and opinionated for you. That's why you can't, hang on this relationship, because that makes you uncomfortable because you're insecure. Like, this is the shit you get from women nowadays. Fuck that shit. I won't ever be in a commitment with somebody like that. I won't. My girlfriend, not like that. There's other things. I'm not saying we're all perfect, and I'm certainly not perfect to her, so I don't mean to highlight my own relationship like that. Always things can be improved on, right? She ain't like that, though. I won't do that shit. I'll be single. I'll just get a motorcycle and a boat and cycle 23-year-old party girls in and out every weekend, right? And goof around, have fun, and fuck off, and never be in a relationship. I'd much rather do that than be with some girl who I'm in a relationship with, and then she treats me like she doesn't care about what makes me happy. Like, what the fuck, but that's where we're at now. You see that level of entitlement. And so where does that entitlement come from? Delusional behavior. When women are delusional and they think that their value is being competitive with men and also being competitive with 22-year-olds and lying to themselves and saying that they can do all of those things better than anybody, she's completely blind to the things that would make her more attractive and a better person to be with at 42. If I'm looking at two options, let's say I'm dating, okay? I'm not. I'm in a relationship. But let's say I'm dating, and think back when I was single, and I had option of 42-year-old, let's say a 35-year-old, and actually would happen to be a busload of fucking mid-20 somethings, to include girls who were too young, and I turned those down, okay? Let's say that was just the options for the week. The 42-year-old, let's say she's attractive. I'm not necessarily going to not pick her over the younger girls, even though the younger girls might be hotter. But if that 42-year-old is giving me an energy that demonstrates that she is not very much fun to be around, she has no interest in what would make me happy if we were to be in a relationship in the future. She's more interested in presenting a boss bitch kind of exterior and just isn't any fun. It's not my insecurity that's going to make me not pick her. It's because she's unpleasant to be around. Why would I pick somebody who's unpleasant and bitchy to be around? Well, I don't need her money. I don't need her house that she has with, maybe she's got a kid or two in that house from a previous marriage or something. Maybe it's a nice house because she got it in the divorce proceedings, but I live in a nice house. Why would I care about her house? If she's not interested, if she's demonstrating right from the start that she's not going to be interested in pleasing a man, and she's more interested in laying out the criteria and the hoops I would need to jump through to date her, why the fuck would I even waste my time? Right? Why would I waste my time with a 36-year-old who is talking about her ex because he's a narcissist? And oh, by the way, she usually dates narcissists, and that's her only fault. And she lays out all the reasons why guys are bad in her past to try to send the message to me that I better be good for her. Not once am I hearing about, well, what kinds of things she's interested in, what kinds of things are fun for her, what makes her happy, because she's generally unhappy as a person. What happiness is she going to bring me as a dude? She's not interested in that. She's more interested in, talking about this other shit she's hung up on. Next, she doesn't even get to the meeting. We don't get to the meeting if that stuff comes out. All right. I get some 25-year-old who's like chill and I like to do this. And she sends me a funny meme and she's having fun. We go out and there isn't a bunch of pressure, isn't a bunch of, it's not an interrogation. She makes fun of my age a little bit. And then I make fun of her age. And then it's funny. And we're attracted to each other. And, you know, all that stuff happens, right? Which one am I picking? Like, who am I going to go on a second date with? Right? Now, I'm illustrating this not just for women who might be listening, because it's for you guys. Because you guys, first of all, you don't have enough options. A lot of you guys. Some of you guys are killing it, right? Some of you guys in my coaching group, which I guess it's a good time, a little late to mention. You know, I got, you know, a few more slots for Apex 10 for a very, very intense, but it's closing fast. And I don't even advertise it. I just talk about it here. I think I put it in an email a couple weeks ago, and that was about it. So I need to, if I actually start up in my advertising, it's going to get closed. So if you're interested in having a very intense one-on-one private coaching with me for a year, that program's available. Just click the link in the description. Also, we have the year-long seduction and mindset, or rather, seduction mindsets in there, but and frame program that is a little less intense with the one-on-one, but still a lot of personal attention and a community of guys and want to do well. And these things, yeah, click those links. So there's my advertisement. Oh, and I still got sponsorship with Sterling's boner product, gas station boner pill. No, it's not a gas station boner pill. It's a nutritional support system for your sexual health. It sounds awesome. Still waiting on my shipment. He got so much, he got so many orders. We didn't even expect to get that many. So he ran out because, you know, you got to run things through production, right? We had produced a certain amount and they went like in the first day or two. So now, like, I didn't even order mine yet and they went. So, like, be patient with it. It'll get there. Production will catch up with the demand. A lot of people are wanting the product, though. So I can't wait to try and give you guys that review. That link's in the description as well, though. All right, so there's my advertisements, okay? I know you like that, gas station boner pills. I know, dude. So anyways, back to it. So, like, it's the delusion that's the problem. That's the problem, because younger women think they have all the time in the world, and they're not thinking about, no, older women are not saying, hey, you know what? Things get harder as you age to find a good guy, because the good guys are going to get taken. A lot of them will go for younger girls, even if you're attractive. And what you're left over with is a lot of guys you don't want. And it's going to jade you and make dating hard because these guys are going to suck. You know, if you're 38 years old and you're trying to date, that can be a hard thing to do. If you got a kid or two, that's even harder. Just to find a dude who you are attracted to and you really want to be with, and you're not negotiating anything. It's the best you could ever want. That's the guy you want. You don't want to settle, but that guy has to deal with children from a previous marriage. That guy has to deal with, you know, the fact that you're no longer in your prime and that you've had sex with a bunch of other dudes before him. And he has to wonder if the attraction you have for him is equal or compared to what you had in the past. You know, you got also trauma and baggage from shit that's happened to you. And then, of course, you got age-related decline. So young girls, use your early 20s not to get fucking wasted and be a moron and develop anti-relationship skills. In fact, condition yourself to have terrible behaviors that would be good for a relationship, and then have to try to undo those in your 30s to try to be happy while the clock's ticking. You're wondering, for some of those girls who want to have kids, like all that shit, like, none of these women who are single or have been around the block, most of them who are 38, 40, 45, they're not saying that. That's the truth, but they're not fucking saying that. Instead, they're showing pictures of themselves in their underwear at 45 and going, I'm just as hot as I was when I was 20. Look at me. I'm so hot I can get dudes whenever I want. I got guys after me. I got guys in my DMs. I date whoever I want, and I'm 42 and single and happy, even though I've been divorced. Look at my ass. Look at my asshole. All right. Look at my asshole on OnlyFans or Instagram. I'm relationship material. Throw a nip out. Like, that's what they're doing. That's what a lot of them are doing. Even the ones who aren't quite that crazy, they still have bad attitudes. They're fucking drinking boxes of wine with their girlfriends or going to upscale bars and just being shitty to men and wondering why men don't want them. Well, fuck, you are in a market now where single men in their 40s, like, they're not looking at you in the same way. You have to be actually kind and nice and also pretty and, do things to stand out and not fucking doing it. Again, I met some girls who were in their 40s who I'm like, I don't understand why this chick's single other than her standards. There's probably something else going on because she's so great, like, she's awesome. What the fuck? Hopefully some guy will snatch that up. It's probably her selection process and other things that are wrong because there's no reason she shouldn't be in a happy relationship. So it's not everybody, but it's certainly a lot of them. And it comes from this delusion. By being delusional, they're not valuing the characteristics that they need to have for a guy to choose them at 42, 43, 44, even if they're attractive. And they're sending messages to younger girls that they can just do whatever they want. And they got plenty of time. That is the worst advice. That is the biggest thing, the biggest lie that is damaging young girls today is that they have time. They do not have time. And it's not to say that they should be in a relationship at 23 with a guy that they're going to marry necessarily, but are they at least doing relationships if they're going to be banging? Are they at least working on things like relationship skills, communication, handling their own emotions, not doing toxic behaviors, respecting other people's boundaries and conditions, making a guy happy even if you're not in a good mood, right? Showing up and being pleasant and fun to be around, even if you're not feeling so hot right now. But you do it and you put that effort in because you're a good girl who wants to be a good girl for your friends, your family, and the guy you're with. These are skills that take development and emotional maturity. Getting wasted on spring break, railing through a couple of guys on a weekend, whatever, going to music festivals and being a party girl, being a dumbass, working your couple jobs and getting your degree while you're playing over and over in your head a victim ideology that your university is spoon feeding to you. Is that victim ideology that women are getting in universities today? Well, they go for their non-STEM degree that's not going to make them any money. Is that helping them? Right? How about the girls who do go for STEM, like engineer girls and, nurses and girls who get the education, where they're super valuable in the marketplace? Total worth it, right? Worth a degree, accountants, attorneys, women that do that. They do that, which is great, but then they're not working on any of the skills to be with a guy. What do? Well, a guy who can't be with me, I'm an attorney, and a guy who can't be with me, he's insecure. See, this is the insecure button. They press that button. He's insecure because he doesn't like me. Fuck, he isn't. He just doesn't like you when you act like a bitch. That's not a masculine thing. It's not a masculinity issue. That's a fucking girl acting like a bitch issue. So the insecure button, right? All that stuff. That message isn't happening. These older women are not telling their daughters, telling younger women the truth, because they're not telling themselves the truth because they're delusional. But who's even more at fault? Who's even more the problem? Is you guys. maybe not you. I don't know. All right. You're listening to me and you've made it an hour and 20 minutes. Probably not the problem. So I'm really not speaking to the ones who need to hear it. But guys, because guys simp for these women and their delusions. Guys feed them. For every one guy is going to say, no, that's kind of not the fucking truth. And in fact, that's going to get you in trouble, or that's not right. Or, you know what? Here's what I want in a relationship from a woman. And if you don't like that, well, I can't be with you, right? I'm going to pick somebody different. That guy who does that, there's 50, 100 guys that will simp for the girl and not tell them the truth. Even the ones that recognize they agree with that guy will not disagree with their wife. They won't disagree with their girlfriend or the girl they're dating. Not that they have to, right? If they're just in a casual relationship, but you know, they're not set. They'll end up in real relationships with no boundaries with these women, and they'll just lie to them, or they'll simp for them on the internet. If I had a nickel for every disgusting broad who threw a picture of themselves that does not belong anywhere, doesn't even belong saved in anybody's phone because she is not good looking in this photo. She's just putting it on her social media and dudes are, you know, just absolutely simping for her because they're so scarce, because guys, like 60% of dudes have little to no sexual access. And that's more than half that are, if they have either have zero access or that's very, very little. They're very, very desperate. They're very, very unsatisfied. Dissatisfaction, depending to what degree, is probably higher than 60%, but it's definitely enough that are so unsatisfied that they will simp for any girl, fat, ugly, disgusting in her behavior, ugly on the inside as well as the outside, old, young, whatever. They will just simp and lie. And then women don't trust men because y'all lie. Y'all fucking lie to them. It's the problem. You lie to them by telling them what they want to hear. They know that you're lying. And you don't tell them, you know, you don't tell them the truth either about other things. So it's guys lying and simping, because simping is to a degree lying to themselves, lying to women. That's why they're delusional. That's why simps run the world, dude. And simps are the reason why women act the way they do. So it's not like it's all women's fault. Now, it's not a blame game, okay? But guys get negative on women and women are, no, dude. It's guys that made them like that. Starting since they were little girls and starting to grow up, and they start to get little woman body parts at too young of an age for any adult male to give a shit about. Shouldn't even be thinking about that for some of these young girls. And these dudes are, and they're objectifying them. And, dudes are treating them a certain way over their looks, and they learn to use their sexuality to get things. And it starts there. And then nobody's telling them not to fuck until they're older. So they're fucking too young. Nobody's telling them not to do certain things. In fact, they're telling them the opposite. The message is the opposite. Rail through a bunch of dudes, justify all the reasons why later. Even the Christian church, they'll take you in and absolve you of your sins. It's totally cool, right? They're ignoring how damaging it is to their success later because of the psychological and neurological patterns that are happening in their own brains and the way that they're affecting themselves. And the level of, and it's not to say, by the way, a girl who's made a ton of bad choices and had a lot of bad experiences can't be a good woman. It's just that she has now all this shit to go through and to overcome. What I'd like to see, because what's a good marker, is a woman who's been through like 100 dudes and who's gone through a ton of shit. When she's 35 years old, especially if she's 35 and single, but even if she's 35 and has a husband, a relationship, that's good too. Doesn't matter. To be able to get on her social media and say, you know what? Don't do what I fucking did. I wanted it to take my own life, parts of my life. I was so out of my mind. I had anxiety and depression and all kinds of problems. Running through dudes, and I treated guys like crap. I'm still feel guilty for some of the terrible things I did to some of the guys I was with, terrible things I did to my friends, you know, things I did to myself. I was in therapy trying to recover for that stuff for years. I'm still recovering. I'm lucky that some guy is with me right now. I have so much gratitude for what I have, but I got lucky. Don't do what I did. I'd love to hear. Show me the girl who's having that fucking conversation right now. Show me that girl. I want to subscribe to her Twitter and support what she's doing. Show me that one. Because you don't have that. You know, you'll have girls who will say that they followed like a traditional conservative path and didn't do those things because that's a flex, you know. Be a good girl like me because I'm a good girl. Look how good I am. I'm a good chimpanzee, right? No girl is saying, you know what, I was a bad chimpanzee. Going against their primal instinct, by the way, to do that. Say, I was a bad chimpanzee and now I'm trying to be a good chimpanzee and it's hard, and do not do what I did, right? Guys do it. Guys, like, I was a useless piece of crap back then. You know, I talk about the days I was running through girls, and what do I say? I was a dirtbag, though. And I tell guys, that's not really the way to go. Just because I had an experience and learned from it, don't do that. You know, guys will do that freely. I need to be the useful chimpanzee, right? That's our goal. My hindbrain as a male tells me to be the useful chimp. As the useful chimp, okay, I'll tell you when I wasn't useful. I'll tell you my mistakes so that you can learn from those mistakes. That's somebody who's not grifting and somebody who's serious. That's something that men do a lot, though. I don't see too many women doing the opposite, you know, not publicly, at least. It's a problem. And that's why things are the way that they are. That's why women, when they're younger, have no plan for the future, are very entitled, very ungrateful, and are just looking for the next good time. Okay. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they're very, very hot, even if they're average. So they can get away with it. And then when they get older, if they haven't made enough good choices and had enough luck to end up in a good relationship, then they're dragging some guy through the mud that, you know, they're in a relationship with until they divorce him. And then they're back out there behaving like entitled women again, who can compete with girls at any age and all that crap. So go back to some slides here. Go back to my screen share. All right, so that's Jessica Alba. We talked about her. Now, let's look at some average. It's hard for me to think of average. I usually, I'm generally with very, very beautiful women. I've been very fortunate, you know, that the women I've been with have been beautiful. My girlfriend is very, very beautiful. And no, this is not like some flex for me either, because she's younger than me. Okay. But it is what it is, but it's not about that. So it's hard. What my point is here is it's hard for me to say what's average, you know? So like, if you're used to dating hotter women or something, well, so am I, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. All right. But trying to find, I just did like a search on the internet for girls on spring break. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Girls doing spring break. And so doing that search, I got a bunch of photos, and this is what is about your average or mid, we'll call it a mid girls who are in their 20s. Okay. They might be 20, 21 in these pictures, or they could be 26 years old, 27. I don't know their ages. I know that they're of age according to the photos that I was looking at, you know, whatever. And, you know, because I specified in their 20s or whatever for some of the searches. And it's just chicks on spring break, right? So I picked the bikini or photos, not because we're just going to look at chicks with bikinis, but because, okay, if they're at the beach, a lot of times they're not putting on the level of makeup and some of the things they might do for Instagram photos or for going out. And they can't hide as much with their clothing, you know? And so we're considering body as well as face. And if we're looking at also like someone like Jessica Alba, most beautiful chick of her time, right? We can see the decline, even though she's still great looking, right? We can see in comparison to girls who are literally just showing up and not being fat, Okay. Now, again, took obesity out for a reason. We're not comparing to girls who destroy their bodies through obesity. That's about 40% or so of the female population at any age. So I'm not going to compare a girl who takes care of herself with a girl who's obese at any age. That's not a fair comparison. So we'll take out obese altogether. All right. We know a lot of girls are obese. We know that. We know that the easy way to success is to not be obese. Cool. Let's take that out of the picture. And so what do we have left? What do we have left? Well, what you find is that the average girl, like a mid girl, so again, she could be anywhere from 0 to 10, let's say SMV, a girl who's like a 6, or I don't know. It's hard to sign SMV, but it's so much easier for a girl to be a 7 or 8, let's say, compare at 22 than it is for a girl who's 42. It's just a fact of the matter, And so we look at these. So these are just some regular girls in spring break. No, they're not like supermodels, right? But we start looking at regular girls in comparison to Jessica Alba. We got one here a little bit thick. I'm not going to objectify these girls too much, okay? Because it's not something I'm trying to do. But she's a little thick. Some guys like that, whatever. My preference is in the way that she's thick. But, I mean, these are pretty girls who are mid. They're not supermodels. You know what I mean? These girls are not supermodels. They're regular girls. Regular girls who are not fat on spring break. Just regular girls in a bikini, right? And so regular girls in the bikini, let's go back here because I don't know how to just go back. I know there's a way to go back, but I'll just go back this way. Regular girls in a bikini compared to Jessica Alba in a bikini here, right? It's like they compete or are hotter, and they're not the most gorgeous. The pictures I picked are not these gorgeous models. They're just hot girls, whatever, good look. They're just your regular girl who's not fat, who takes care of her body, who's out on spring break. That's who they are. And she's in her 20s. So it's like you look at these girls who are, they're in their 20s or whatever, I mean, some of them look a little young to me, but I mean, these girls are just normal. This is just normal girls, right? This is like, I mean, they could be SMVs, like you kind of say sexual market value higher in terms of looks maybe or lower, but I mean, like these are just girls. That's all they are. These girls are a little prettier, I don't know, than the last photo there. But they're pretty just normal girls, not hot, not fat. Here, we went ethnic, went a different colors, not just white girls. I like all colors of women. So, these are just girls. There's in dress, okay. Bikinis, some darker women in bikinis. Yeah, in their 20s. They just show up in their 20s, dude. And these are just pictures that people had on whatever. These are not professional modeling or photo shoots. I pick group photos because that's how we can know that there's less editing that's being done for the photo. You know what I mean? Like it's not done. These weren't professional photos. These are just photos on the internet. All right. So when we look at that in comparison to Jessica Alba at 42, it's like Jessica Alba was the most beautiful woman when she was those girls' age. Now she doesn't, she loses that competition depending on which girl. And these are just average, like mid girls. Do you know what I mean? Who are not obese. That's the caveat. So a lot of you guys will be like, man, in my neighborhood out here, wherever I'm at, with a population of only 10,000 people, girls are just gross and ugly, and you can't find girls like that. Well, you're in a low populated area with a high percentage of probably obese women, and the ones that aren't obese are, lower on the attractiveness scale. It's a location geography problem for you. It's not, if you looked at all of the United States though, and a lot of small towns have pretty women here and there too, but just the population's smaller, so you're going to have smaller numbers, right? But if you are looking at girls between 20 and 30 who are not fat and just kind of take care of themselves, that's what you see. You see girls who are hotter than Jessica Alba at 42. That's what you see. All right. Which means that girls, and Jessica Alba is a beautiful woman at 42. So that means what about the rest? I know guys will pull out these anomalies. What about J-Lo or what about Selma Hayek? Those are very beautiful women who are anomalies. They're probably the most beautiful women for their age. What about the rest of them, though? What about the rest of these women? They're not competing. Jessica Alba can compete a bit with those girls. She's the top tier, dude, at 42. What about 99% of the rest of women out there? They're not competing just on the hotness part of it alone. Even if they're hot, even if they're attractive and pretty for their age, they're not competing with these younger girls. 99%. Okay. And that's important because when you guys are selecting women, you need to select women who bring good qualities to the table. Because even if she's hot and 23, I need to take this advice for myself because I do this all the time, unfortunately. You meet a hot younger girl, okay? If she's not developed in good relationship qualities, and if she's not developing good relationship qualities, that hot 23, 25, 27-year-old is going to be 37, 42, 45 someday. If she's not on a track of making herself better, having personal accountability for her behavior, and trying to, be a good partner and learn those skills and not be a toxic person, right? And be aligned with your goals, be a good compliment to you. Doesn't matter if she's like this hot girl. It's easy to be a hot girl at 24, 25. Where are her other qualities? Hey, I'm not saying don't bang those girls or don't have fun. They're there to have fun too. The majority of them, they don't care about your relationship either. But the ones that want a relationship, and if you want a relationship and you want to invest in this person and like potentially have kids or potentially have, even just being together and have a long-term relationship for 10, 20 years or whatever, right? The rest of life. If you want to have that and you're picking up a 24, 25-year-old, understand she's hot because they're most of them are hot. If you cancel out obese and you cancel out the outliers, you got a large percent in their mid-20s that are just hot when they show up. Hotter than 42, 43, 45-year-olds. That's just the way it is. Doesn't mean they're going to make long-term partners, though. Doesn't mean they're going to be good for that. So don't let that make you think you got some sort of prize here and that you need to switch your life around for some hot 24-year-old. She didn't put any effort. Her effort to be hot at 24 is this much compared to the effort a 42-year-old woman puts in to be hot. 42-year-old woman effort, 24-year-old woman effort. So being hot is not a measure of character. That's your first lesson. All right? When looking at this and why you need to look at it. The next thing is don't pick a woman who's 42 who's not as hot as younger counterparts you could get, who's bitchy, entitled, not a good partner, has good qualities, let's say has accomplishments, has her own money, right? But then brings you a bunch of problems, drama, doesn't want to qualify to you, doesn't believe she should be submissive to a man, doesn't even believe that she should learn about what a man would want and need. His ego is out of control, no accountability, prescription drug problem, regular drug problem, alcohol problem, shitty attitude. Don't pick anybody like that, but especially don't pick some 42, 38-year-old that's like that, and she ain't going to start off like that. But if she's that way 6 months later and you realize, holy fuck, like she put on a really good face and this is not what I want to be with, get rid of her. A 25-year-old who's that way 6 months later, I'm not saying stay with her, but she's got more potential to change, though, than that 38-year-old. That 38-year-old, that 50-year-old, 45-year-old, whatever. She's been like that for a long time. her default behavior that's unpleasant to be around and that's a problem in your life, that's been developing for years. I'm not saying she can't change, but she needs to demonstrate the ability to change and the desire to change. When she's not doing that, she's not going to change. Your 24-year-old is more likely to change, though she may not change for you and she may not be the right person for you. It might take her some falling on her face a few times before she's motivated to fix herself, the 24-year-old. But, you think that 50-year-old woman that's hot for her age is going to now make some changes for you? She isn't. And you could pick up younger. You don't just need to be in her 20s. You could pick up a 38-year-old instead of a 48-year-old who, at least she's hotter. You're going to put up with some stuff. So that's the thing. You don't need to put up with bullshit. You don't need to put up with it. Don't let beauty make you think her personality traits are going to be good over time, for one. And for two, don't trade in, don't put up with stuff from some woman who's can't even compete with younger girls you could get when she's not, in the looks category, who's not competing in other ways by being just a better girl and a better partner. Because it's easier for a 42-year-old if she's done the work when she's younger. She has wisdom, emotional maturity, and personal development. A decade of personal development, if she's been doing that, is worth way more than some girl who's just really pretty for a long-term relationship. But do they do that? Some do. A lot of them don't. So you just don't need to put up with any of it. And of course, women need to stop lying to themselves. Just because you're attractive at a certain age, that doesn't mean you're competing with your younger selves, and therefore don't need to bring anything else to the table, because that's the underlying message that they have. Let's look at a little bit more on a share. So just to show you the capping that happened, and this is not even all of them. This is just what I was able to find, right? And so all right, so those are all the other girls, whatever, younger girls. Now, when Pearl put that tweet out, girls were jumping on, and you would think a girl might say, who's not delusional, would say, who gives a shit, Pearl? Like, that could be one thing. Or say, hey, okay, so 35-year-olds are not as hot as 25-year-olds. Well, fine, but at 38 or at 40, I bring a lot more to the table that's attractive to guys for long relationships and for happiness than most 25-year-olds will. That would be a perfect answer, right? But is that what they answered? Nope. There's a lot of screaming and crying and sputtering and pointing. And then you got these sorts of things, right? What you had then was massive amounts of capping from these women, absolutely just lying to themselves and putting pictures of themselves. And that was the crazy thing. I was like, that's crazy. Like, instead of just, whatever, they feel like they got to say something against what she's saying. I get it. She's whatever. But instead they're like just putting doctored up photos of themselves to show how hot they are in order to prove something. I can compete with that 24-year-old on spring break. Look at me in my photo. Let's look at this first one. From this clever angle where I'm at diagonal angle and I got makeup, plastic surgery, photo editing. You know what I mean? If you look at me just at the right angle, with the right lighting, the right amount of makeup, and the right amount of filters and photo apps, I look just like a 24-year-old, so I must be pretty. Are you fucking kidding me? It's crazy, dude. Crazy. You know what I mean? It's like the level of delusion. And I'm going to show a few of these, but there was so much more. A lot of them, I don't even know. It was what I had time to grab. There were worse ones too. I mean, and so here's one, and it's like, good. Okay. So, she lost some weight and made herself more pretty over time, but who told her to get obese at 30? You know what I mean? Like, just because you ruined your body and then had to pull yourself out of it, that doesn't mean that you're genetically better looking now than you were back then. That just means that you didn't take care of yourself back then, and good on you for that. But you're not proving anything. If anything, you're proving the point she's making, which is that you have to do a lot more work just to be average if you're 45, 46. And that's okay. But why aren't we telling the truth about that? This one, 38 years old. She's very pretty, 38-year-old woman. I don't know what the rest of her looks like, but very pretty. But this is also a professional photo. What does she look like at the beach? Probably like Jessica Alba or some counterpart, right? Good looking, but not as hot as like a bunch of hot, 23-year-olds. Like, come on, right? This is gross. Look at this one. This one's like, I'm sorry, but you look like somebody's freaking like mom or like someone's wife that needs to get off the internet is what you look like. Like, dude, like imagine, oh, I'm turning 40, look at me. And then she puts this picture of herself. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? If she has a husband or a dude, why in the world would that guy even ever put up with it? Simping, that's why. That's why. Dude's a simp. Dude has no standards, whatever, And it's not to say she's not attractive. Yeah, she's attractive. I wouldn't pick her up, but she's attractive to like some dude who decided to marry her, okay? And this is a cute thing she would wear in a photo shoot just for him, or on a Thursday night, she wants to surprise him with some good sex and a nice outfit. Why the fuck is this on your Twitter? Like, that's gross. What's gross about it isn't her trying to be attractive. What's gross about it is that you're now putting it on your Twitter. That should be reserved for a dude you're with, if you like into dudes, I guess. But she's trying to prove some point. Has a mask to cover her face so you don't see wrinkles and eye wrinkles and all this stuff. Her body, she has this corset thing that sucks everything in. And, stretch marks and different things. It's going to hide. The angle's just right. And then there's photo filtering, photo apps. And then she's comparing herself to the average girl walking around in a bikini. Like, let's say during the summertime at some beach somewhere, like who's in her mid-20s. You got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this one. Oh, I have no hope. I'm 43 years old then. It's like, again, why is this a picture? Oh, you're a MILF and a GILF, like this grandma. Now, some of these girls are trying to make money, right? And they're hitting up all the simps. Back to what I said, simps support it. You know what I mean? But it's like, this girl has nothing but simps and guys that she would not really want to be in anything with. Her heyday is over with. She's just collecting cash from guys who have no sexual access, who throw her money and tell her nice things. But it's like, this is literally a grandma of somebody's grandma. I'm not saying she's unattractive for a lady in her 50s, probably, right? But Jesus, 43 years old. Okay. Well, she looks to me like she's in her 50s, right? Because I see women in her 50s that look just the same. A guy she's with, great photo, spice it up in the bedroom. Throw that on for the dude you're in a relationship with. Why are you on Twitter? And what point does she think she's proving? Even with the outfit, the angles, the filters, the makeup, she's not as attractive as a girl just walking around who's in her 20s. This one, okay, let's ignore the septum piercing and the hair and the pile of red flags. She's got at least a sweatshirt on. She's not being a hoe about it. And she's pretty. She's got good facial features, stuff like that. But I don't know what her body looks like. And I don't really want to know, quite frankly. And what point does she think she's proving here? How about this one? Tattoo neck. What point? Tattoo neck and lip injections and squared off eyebrows. Well, what point is she proving? Not saying she's unattractive. And understand, like, I hate doing this because I never look. If I saw these girls on the street, I wouldn't look at them and go, oh, you're attractive. Like, I'm not that dude, right? Like, that's bullshit. I don't do that. I don't treat women like that. But these women are putting themselves out there for people to look at as some sort of proof that they're more attractive or desirable than their younger counterparts. It's just, it's very delusional. And of course, most of these are personal attacks on Pearl. Like, well, yeah, Pearl, you're ugly. Let me throw a picture of you up here. Well, she's not trying to say that she's the hottest girl in the world. Like, she's not making that statement. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's just the personal attacks happen because they don't want to accept that, you know, like, her at 38, how many kids does this woman with her squared off eyebrows and tattoo neck, how many kids does she have? How many restraining orders does she have? How many DUIs, right? 38 years of bad behavior, if that's what we're looking at, does not make you, is not a good look. Right. And it's not to say she's not an attractive woman. She is, if this tattoo is a little much, I think, the way that is. The whole look and persona, what she's projecting to the world is red flags, you know? But she thinks she's just as attractive as a younger girl with a lot more potential. Someone talking about Ben Shapiro's wife, picture of her pregnant, picture. And she's hotter than you. Like, Pearl's not comparing herself. You know, Ben Shapiro's wife, she's a pretty lady. I think she's smart enough to not want to compare herself to some 24-year-olds walking around. You know, I would hope she would say, well, wait, I got a lot more value to my husband than me in a bikini at 23. So this is a stupid argument, right? That'd be the right thing to say. Instead, they always got to get naked, right? What about this one? I'm very confident. It's like, you have a boob job. That's the only thing here that I'm seeing that would be something, right? Like, if we were to close up this, which I can't, we're probably going to find out 20-something her is better than 30-something her in terms of facial features and a lot of different things. But she's got a boob job here, and she's wearing an outfit that's trying real hard, you know, and her hair's done up a little bit differently. This other one up here you can see was another one where someone just put a picture of their ass. Oh, I'm 38 years old. Here's my ass. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? All these women losing their minds, dude, on Twitter when this happened, right? Just losing their mind. Look at this one. I'm 37. I'm hot. I'm 37. I'm hot. That's hot. That's hot. I mean, I'm not trying to body shame. Once again, it's whatever, but you're putting the photo of yourself. And she's got all this makeup, this crazy ass hair, tattoos that are designed to try to distract you from what she actually looks like. And she's a bit heavy. You know what I mean? She's a little bit on the heavy side. You think that she's like, you're going to get picked out in the public, walking down the street, walking on the beach over a bunch of mid-20s girls that are just average, not fat, and not trying as hard? Like, nope, sorry. We're getting down to, you know, beauty. You're not going to compete. But they can't help themselves. They can't help themselves but try to, like, flex and show their bodies off, right? This one's a doctor, Dr. Carey. I don't know if she posted a picture, but I get sexier every year. Cap, right? Like, it's like, come on, man. It's not to say they're ugly. Like, I'm not being mean, dude. I'm not saying any of these girls are ugly. A lot of them are not my preference. Okay, that's cool. If I was single, some of them, sure. Some of the older ones too, very pretty. But come on, dude. You're not compete. That's crazy. You know, it's just like, that'd be like me at 45 going, you know what? I'm going to start my career in the UFC today. I love MMA. I love competitive boxing, fighting. I do it just as more a hobby. I'm not training for no fight. I'm not even endurance ready for the shit. You know what I mean? Right now, they were like, you got to get in the ring tomorrow. I'd be like, I'm going to be gassed by round 2. Like, okay, but I enjoy it. I'm not fooling myself and thinking I'm going to go compete with a bunch of guys who just got out of college level wrestling who are 22, 23, 24 in phenomenal shape for MMA and can take just a beating. You know what I mean? Like, in the head and what do you want to say? Like, have those shield themselves from the repercussions of getting beaten in the head for a lot longer in their 20s. When you're 45, that's a thing. You actually lose the neurological ability to some degree to take a beating like that. And so I'm not saying I couldn't, fight, or if it was on the street where it's not rounds and I can, it ends a lot more quickly. Sure, no problem, right? Hey, I'm not worried about a younger person in a threat situation, but I'm not starting my boxing career. I'm not starting my MMA career at 45, 46, and then telling everybody and showing pictures of myself boxing. Like, that's delusional shit, man. That's the same delusional shit happening here, And guess what? I don't care, because my value as a man isn't that I'm going to start my MMA career tomorrow. That's not my value as a man. And their value as women doesn't have to be spider tattoos on her boobies and some body fat she needs to lose. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trying to compete with younger women, that does not have to be your value. But they make it their value with this kind of shit. And this is what you guys are end up trying to date. Not that they're all putting pictures of themselves on Twitter, but that girl that you swiped on and you met on Hinge or Tinder, or some of you older guys, Match.com or some shit. This is what you end up with. Girls with the same dumb mentality. They're just not necessarily executing it here. This one, it's like, not that she's unattractive, but the angles, the shadowing, the lighting, the there's foundational makeup and stuff. There's a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that are being done here to try to make her look a certain way, right? Put her in person next to somebody. It's not going to be like that. And so that's all. We're coming up on 2 hours. Oh, that was a long conversation. Right. So fighting positivity. I can take Mayweather at any age. Well, Mayweather's older now. Maybe I can. Mayweather, if you're listening, let's schedule a matchup. It'll be good for my platform, and I'm not afraid to get in the ring with anybody. Doesn't mean I'm going to win, But yeah. I mean, it's like, part of having healthy self-esteem is to know your limits and to know what your value actually is, and not to lie to yourself about your limits, but know whether those limits matter or are even important for your overall value, and know how to mitigate for those limits as best as possible, and how by doing the work to make those limits not so limiting. We're all going to age. We're all going to get older. We're all going to die. We're all going to decline in our looks. We're all going to decline in our physical capability. And that's just a fact of life. And you know what? That's okay. But if you understand that about yourself, and if you pick women that have a healthy understanding and mindset about that, you're going to do better. You're just going to do better. A 42-year-old woman who understands, hey, you know what? I'm not as hot as I was when I was 22, but guess what? That's okay. I'm still hot. I'm still doing, I'm still confident in myself. I still have a lot of value, and I know what that value is. And it's not what everybody else says and what feminism ideology says, but it's what's important to me and what's important to the guy I'm with. I know I'm valuable to a guy that I would be with. If they're single or if they're with a guy, I know what's important to him, genuinely important, not what he just says, if he's trying to make me feel better, but I know what's genuinely important. I know when I go out into the world and I'm in a relationship, I'm a representative of that relationship, which means I'm a representative of him. So if I'm putting a picture of myself in my underwear to try to prove a point on Twitter, I'm not being a good representative. If I'm looking extremely elegant because I have a great outfit on and I'm going out into the world and being nice and pleasant and fun and respectful to others, I'm being a good representative. A good representative of myself and a good representative of my relationship with my man. And if I have children, the good representative of my children. These are the women that you want to look for. They're not being conditioned to think that way, though, guys. So you're going to have frame to make that happen for those that are capable. A lot of girls that are great girls and very capable of being a good girl may not quite have it all together by the time when you start seeing her. And that's what your frame is for. When you're the most desirable man she could ever be with, she's going to want to match your values and what you think is important. And so maybe some of the things that she hasn't really thought about, she'll start thinking about and doing. But it's got to be on her to do, and she's got to show it through her behavior. You're not going to change anybody. You're certainly not going to undo somebody's trauma or damage or mental health issues. That's something they have to deal with. And you're not going to undo even the social conditioning if they're not willing to undo it themselves, right? And so you have to have the frame and know what you want and be selective and select women that are not delusional, because a delusional woman is going to potentially destroy her life and destroy yours with it. She won't have gratitude for what she has. She won't have appreciation for what you do, and she'll be focused on the negative things you do. Jake here with another super. I appreciate it. Have a firm grasp on who you are mentally and physically is huge. Paul's courses can help with that. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. And that is, again, links in the description. If anything, make sure you're on my newsletter, on my free list. It's free, the newsletter, right? And it's not as lengthy and long as these discussions. They're nice little tidbits. Every day an email goes out. You can take your medicine. Read, or you can read it in 2 or 3 minutes. Stimulates your brain to do better. That's the design of that newsletter. Focused on solving problems, focused on relationship stuff, focused on mindset stuff. And some things that we can't talk about necessarily here on YouTube, right? So that's the thing. Don't pick delusional women. Women out there who may come across this, check your delusions at the door. All right. Appreciate that one, brother. Yeah. The Apex Mindset Course is for sale by itself. You can just buy it and start executing. Just start executing right away what's in that course. Start getting better, and it's a very easy format to follow, right? Very informal, very easy to follow. And it's making those little changes every day and doing little practices every single day, She said, can't even. Yeah, 48 free picks, 48 year old me. I'm not even 48, asshole. In the future, that's it. It'll be a pre-register for in a few years when I do turn 48 and give you a pick of my basic. You can see me in a bathing suit on my Instagram though. So it's not anything I'm trying to hide. See my girlfriend too, Not that I'm trying to put her out there, but I mean, it's just there. She was a model, so I'm not, she has her face everywhere, so I'm not trying to black her face out like I would a girl who wasn't in a public eye like that before. But at any rate, yeah. So sign up for my shit, do the things. Don't pick delusional ass women, and don't support and simp for these women either. I mean, you don't have to be negative and mean and nasty. You can be kind. You can be, whatever. Girls talking about how strong and independent she is. I'm not sitting there going, blah, blah, feminism. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Good for you, but I'm not bringing those girls into my life. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to fix them either. Right. You just pick the right ones and that's it. All right. Till next time.